First of all, if you're looking for some late night live streaming content, check out BigSteve, one word. He live streams late at night. He's very entertaining, very funny guy. My dog's trying to walk in front of the camera. That's great, dog. She goes for a 4 or 5 mile walk every night, and then she wants to come home, eat a full meal. Then she wants to play violently with her toy, and she wants me to like take it away from her and throw it and stuff. And then if she plays violently after a big meal, she will of course just throw up. So that doesn't work out that well. This is sex, and if I didn't just gross you out with that, sorry. Sex, Death, Revolution. I was reading this and I started to get some strange thoughts. What if this transgender stuff wasn't real? What if in 20 years we look back at this period in history and realize that most transgenders are just fat, depressed kids seeking attention, and the other half are mentally ill? That giving hormone blockers to children is just child abuse. That maybe cutting off penises and breasts, then injecting people with drugs was a breach of medical ethics. I realize that this is modern day wrongthink and will probably get me sent to room 101 for re-education. America feels like the adults have left the room about 10 to 15 years ago. It feels like it's Lord of the Flies in here. This book is by Mags Visaggio. The first issue sold 2,800. Number 2 was down to 1,600. This issue number 3 is down to 1,200. Usually when Mag's books drop under 1,000, they get canceled, so this book will probably go 2 more issues. Mag's bread and butter is about 3 books a month, averaging about 1,000 issues each. So that's grossing about $12,000 a month, $12,000 a month. What percentage of that Mags takes home is anyone's guess. I have heard that to get residuals, you need sales over $40,000, over 40,000 issues, which I can't imagine Mags ever selling that many books. Mags' audience is pretty small. The gay community is a few percentage, and the transgender male to female is less than 1%. And that's a lot of Mag's story focuses on transgender male to female. Still, that is a potential audience of a few million people. So why aren't Mag's books selling better? A couple of reasons. The comic book industry is in tatters, mostly because of people like Mags Visaggio, Mark Waid, Kwanzaa, Gail Simone, and the rest of the crowd of idiots in mainstream comics. They call customers Nazis and then block them. They use blockchains to block anyone who follows diversity in comics, Ethan Van Sciver, Yellow Flash, or Tug. So people who are trying to sell goods to customers block those customers and gladly watch sales drop, because they don't want money from dirty Comicsgate Nazis. If that sounds insane to you, well, it sounds insane to me also. What is especially funny is that the people they call Nazis would never be allowed in the Nazi party. Many of us, myself included, were considered subhuman by them, so it's a little insulting when a fat millionaire like Mark Waid accuses me of something that I could never be a part of. I'm starting to think Mark Waid may actually be retarded. So, because of these NPC comic book professionals, and yes, every time I use that word, it's in quotes, comic book stores close every year. A lowering tide lowers all boats. The comic book pros can't keep their far-left ideology out of the books. Kelly Sue DeConnick said, "If you don't like my politics, don't buy my books." Well, Kelly, people don't buy your books. In case you haven't noticed, mainstream comics aren't doing well. When Mark Waid and Kwanzaa, 2 huge names in comics, can't sell more than 9,000 issues of Ignited, you know the industry is in trouble. If you want to sum up the corrosion and corruption in mainstream comics, Mark Waid, allegedly, tortiously interfered with a contract between Richard Meyer and Antarctic Press, simply because Meyer, who is a 12-year veteran with many mixed kids from women from all over the world, had some fun roasting bad propaganda comics written by idiots. That's it. Your boy dared to say, "Hey, these comics suck. They aren't worth $4. Because of that, the comic book industry lost their minds. Some of them threatened his children. None of the other comic book professionals said, Hey guys, that's going too far. Threatening violence isn't acceptable, nor is sending pictures of anuses to the human sunbeam, Ethan Van Sciver. Instead of dialing back the threats of violence, they met in secret chat rooms and plotted to dox his wife and children. They conspired to trigger his PTSD at a con and physically attack him. One of them wished he was slaughtered in Afghanistan, killed by ISIS. The comic book pros are literally aligning with terrorists. But I see that I have digressed a bit. The final reason Mags' books only sell 1,000 copies is because they suck. The writing sucks. That is a given. But for some reason, in every one of Mags' books, the art also sucks. I assume it's because Mags can't afford to pay them. When the book grosses $12,000, that money has to be split several ways. The publisher, distributor, editor, writer, pens and inks, letterers. So as a consequence, the art isn't very good. When that is the case, the story better be fire, and it just isn't. Most of Mags' stories feel like they are written by a suicidally depressed middle-aged man who has a .357 loaded with one bullet on his writing table. I love reading Mags' cancerous books because I love cringe. But how do I say this? I don't want to be the last person to roast Mags before Mags becomes one of the 40%. Mags Visaggio committed suicide today. The last person to roast their books, Bianca Fights the Zombies. I imagine an angry crowd of cross-dressers storming the castle with torches and pitchforks. I wonder if, before they crucify me, if they will ask me my pronouns. Point of personal privilege. Bianca, what are your pronouns? We're still going to kill you, but misgendering someone is the real crime. Though it's funny, they have hard-ons for pronouns, unless you upset them. Then they are totally fine with dead-naming you. They call Trump, Drumpf, a name the family changed 100 years ago. When Diversity in Comics was still anonymous, they doxed him and always referred to him as Richard C. Meyer. And if they ever dox me, at least I have the satisfaction of knowing that both my first and last name are completely unpronounceable. And they are committing a racist hate crime when they mispronounce them. If you read Mags' writing, you'll be reading the most depressing drivel and wonder why you paid $4 for it. The writing is gray, the art is gray. I don't know what antidepressant Mags is on, but they need to increase their dosage. The writer is clearly on the edge of a crumbling precipice of despair. Usually, once they get the final surgery, they recover and realize that they are still depressed, and instead of being an average-looking depressed man, they are an average-looking depressed man who has cut his penis and testicles off. That's when they decide it's time to check out and hope reincarnation brings them a fresh opportunity. Though if you are Mark Waid, you're probably going to come back as a butt plug. Probably Mags Visaggio's butt plug. Hopefully Mags will be reincarnated in China or Russia during the 50s so they can live their dream of living in a socialist paradise. Anyway, when Mags finally gets the bottom surgery, I will probably stop reviewing their books. Mags was found dead because some asshole on YouTube gave him a bad review. I can thank my lucky stars that Mags will never listen to these episodes. Anyway, check out Sex, Death, Revolution if it's up your alley. The Star Wars scene was funny. Mags needs to lighten up and do less existential angst and more lighthearted comedy. I mean, is the goal to sell fun books or write propaganda that sits on shelves and gets recycled because people are tired of being told what to think by guys going through their midlife crisis? Now, your boy says Mags can't write, but I actually think there's potential buried under that axe grinding. Mags can be funny, but I think he needs a solid year of therapy and medication to burn off that depression, because the depression comes across in the writing. Anyway, like, comment, and check out the BigSteve. I will put his link in the description. Does that look gay to you? Because that looks really gay to me, but I guess it's more like self-love because it's his inner self coming across. If you notice the ads for the back, I included the ads because I thought they were funny. The ads for the back of the book are for these other low-selling books that I think of as try-hard books. They have, I remember seeing them on independent bookstores, independent comic book stores a long time ago, like in Berkeley, California. They have these comic book stores, and they have these kind of like, they'll have a lot of gay comics and weirdo. Just, I mean, not only weirdo as judgmental. I mean, unusual comics that appeal to a small percentage of the audience, because in San Francisco and Berkeley and Los Angeles and New York, there's segments of the city that have those small audiences. So you get stuff like this that is just not going to move big numbers. And they all kind of have this try-hard punk rock vibe on the covers. Like, the people are writing them are trying to project this image of, I don't know, riding motorcycles and tattoos and just punk rock, dude, punk rock. Like they have a guitar and they know 3 chords of, I don't know, Red Hot Chili Peppers meets Green Day. God, I hated Green Day. Oh, God, I hated Green Day. And so you see these covers, and then you flip through the magazine. It's like a lot of them are black and white with spelling errors and just look like they were edited by Heather Antos and written by Gail Simone. Just absolute garbage. This kind of stuff about Cal exit. Yeah, like California would just die without federal money. They say, oh, it's the 11th biggest economy in the world. Yeah, it has more debt than other countries. It's just an absolute. I wish California would try to go their own way. That'd be wonderful, wonderful. They would be swamped by illegal immigrants, and they give free health care to illegal immigrants, and they would be broke in 2 years. Absolutely dead broke in 2 years, and it would turn into a excrement-filled garbage pit like Mexico City or Brazil. Just absolute garbage. Because that's where California is heading. If you're familiar with San Francisco, as you walk through the city, it smells like urine and feces, because the city is covered in urine and feces because it has a homeless problem. Why does it have a homeless problem? Well, that is a whole kettle of fish. It also has a heroin problem and a serious drug problem. And as libertarian as I am, I don't think you can have people shooting heroin and have a successful city or a successful nation. I'm all for drug use. I'm all for consensual drug use of consenting adults who can, do their drugs at home and not cause any trouble. But if you're sharing needles on the street, well, you're interfering with other people's personal liberties, and you're screaming at the sky and just defecating on the street. Well, that spreads disease. That's not a successful city. But San Francisco is run by millionaires for a far left liberal elite. They're called the limousine liberals in San Francisco, and the normal working class people just laugh their asses off at them, because the liberal elites all want diversity, and they're all pro-homeless people shooting drugs. But of course, the liberal elites don't live among the homeless or among the diverse people. How shall I say this? They live in their own all lily white upper crust neighborhoods where they don't get their cars broken into, and they don't suffer from violent crime like the rest of us do because of their far left policies. Anyway, these kind of comics, these kind of try hard, just like outrageous covers, and then you get inside and it's just like, see, this is like punk rock, dude. Punk rock. Like, they'll draw the guitars with 5 strings and just wrong amount of frets, and I don't know if this is a single pickup. And just, they've never played a musical instrument in their life. And where are her breasts? For God's sakes. What is it with these people and just crappy art? They just want to make everything as ugly as possible. I think that's how they feel, and they're just projecting. So they always have these kind of like edgy titles, but you're always disappointed once you read the story. It's just garbage. It's just written by people who they write and they show it to their friends who are also in these echo chambers. And so their friends say, hey, dude, this is awesome. This is great. Or if they're transgender, hey, girlfriend, this is great. You got to show it to people who say, this story doesn't make sense because of these reasons, these specific reasons. It doesn't flow. The character's not developed. I think when you have a main character, the main character, Zach says, when you have the character on the cover, the main character, they have to do something great. And I use that in my writing. I write on the side. And I think more people should remember that. you can't write a story and the main character's not doing something excellent. Because why are we reading this? We're just reading mundane, ho-hum life. This, let me get to, I was trying to find one image that encapsulates this book, and it's, I don't know, something like this. Just, these guys are two guys who are transgender, but they're drawn the same way badly. They have these weird chins, these weird pointed chins. They're just obviously long-haired guys who are very, very pre any attempt at... Usually the transgender guys I know, or I guess they're guys who are dressed as women, so they're transgender women, they go through a lot of effort to put on their makeup and really sell the look. For some reason, the dog just wants to sit in front of the camera and just be an idiot. She's just a strange little shelter dog, but she's a wonderful dog. Adopt, don't shop. Shelter pets make the best pets. Anyway, so these two dudes, they've got like mustaches and little goatees and stuff. So I get it. I totally respect it. People, you can gender bend all you want, and you don't have to look like a woman to feel like a woman. That's fine. You know what I'm saying? I'm not... That's a whole thing. That's a whole other thing. You can be whoever you want, especially live in a big city. Most people are entirely cool with it. But like I was saying before, I was dogus interruptus by a little... This dog lives on the street for over a year, and she's just a complete weirdo, but she's actually turned into a pretty good mutt. Transgender people I know, the guys go through a huge effort to look as female as possible, and they mostly, the ones I know, totally pull it off. They really, like, yeah, this is the comic. This is just crap. Just because you're gay, you're transgender, you can't write and draw this badly and expect, oh, well, I'm gay, I'm transgender, other gay transgender people will buy it. No, they won't. They want quality. Just being transgender isn't enough to sell a book. It's enough to sell 1,200 copies because people feel, oh, hey, I'm transgender too. I'll support mags for a couple of issues, but the book has to put out, and this book doesn't put out. And the thing is, I know mags could write better than this if mags just put down the axe and just tried to write stuff that sells. I don't know any transgenders who look this bad, who don't shave or wax. I mean, this is just insane. I live near one of the gayest areas on... Oh, come on, dog. I live in one of the gayest areas, or near one of the gayest areas on Earth, and they don't look like this. They make tons of effort to do their nails and dress, you know. They don't... This is just... I don't know what Mags is trying to prove, but it's just kind of sad. So this is it. This is a comic. A few colors, just flat backgrounds. Just ugly people doing ugly things, ugly art, ugly writing. Everything is ugly. Everything sucks. Because the people who are involved in these kind of comics, like, man, we don't have to prove anything to anyone. We're just punk rock. Like, dude, you know 3 chords, okay? So, like, dial it back. Dial it way back. You're not Buckethead. You're not Slash. Anyway, check out BigSteve, one word, on YouTube. He is a lot of fun, especially if you like the late night live streams. He does kind of stream of consciousness things, but he's really interesting. And I'm sure he's going to probably invite more people on, or maybe go on other people's streams soon. So like, comment, unsubscribe, and check out BigSteve. Catch you guys next episode.